So today we're going to do 9.1. 9.1 is actually very easy. It's something that you've done probably multiple times, maybe in algebra, definitely in geometry. And all it is the distance and midpoint formula. So this is going to be a quick review, should be a quick video, and then we're only going to spend about one day on this, and then we're moving on. So vocabulary, the distance formula is derived from the Pythagorean theorem. Okay, that's the Pythagorean theorem is a squared plus b squared equals c squared, and that's how you find the distance between 2 points. That's what the distance formula is. And then the midpoint formula is the middle point, between two coordinates. And it's given by this equation, x1 plus x2 over 2, y1 plus y2 over 2. In other words, you're going to add up the two x values, divide by 2, add up the two y values, divide by 2. So let's get right into this. We're just going to do a real quick review here. Label each of the following as scalene, isosceles, or equilateral. Scalene means that all three sides are different. Even though this may not look like it, that is our scalene. Okay, this one right here. Actually, I lied. This one does look the same, so that would be isosceles. This one, all three are different. That's our scalene. And then the last one, all three sides are the same, so we call that equilateral. Okay, let's go through an example of how to find distance. Again, this is just, the idea of this is that you can do problems, and you can do ACT problems this way, is sometimes they give you the coordinates and they ask what type of triangle it is, things like that, and you have to know how to find the distance between the coordinates so you know what the length of each side is. So using the distance formula, this is real simple. Here's our distance formula right here. It's the square root of the difference of our x's squared plus the difference of our y's squared. So in other words, we're basically finding the distance between each of our x values. We're finding the distance between each of our y values. We're squaring them and adding them and then taking the square root. You can actually derive the Pythagorean theorem using this formula right here. So let's get right into it. So d equals the square root of 3, we're using this 3 right here, minus a negative 5 squared plus 6 minus a negative 3 squared. And again, be careful when you're putting this into a calculator. You will get decimals on a lot of this stuff, but just be careful that you have the right parentheses and you're taking the square root of everything. What I would do is I would find out what you're taking the square root of first and then take the square root. But the mistake that most people make is they forget to take the square root at the end and then they get an answer. So plugging this inside in, so this is 8 squared and this is 9 squared. That ends up being the square root of 145, so therefore our d is equal to 12.042. Okay, you have 3 to do on your own. Try those on your own. Shouldn't take you that long. Hit play when you're ready. So here's the solutions for each one. You'll see that I did not do every step, but you can check your answers. So this is how it should be set up. 4 minus 5 squared plus 3 minus 2 squared. You end up with the square root of 2, which is 1.414. Second one, we have 4 minus negative 2 squared plus 6 minus 2 squared. You end up with the square root of 52, which is 7.211. And then the third one, we have 2 minus a negative 3 squared plus 0 minus 5 squared. That should end up giving you the square root of 61, which is 7.810. Okay, let's move on to midpoint. But before we do that, there's 2 things here that I want you to do. I want you to be able to, in your own words, summarize how to find the distance between 2 points. And the reason why this is if you can summarize it in your own words, then that will help you remember how to find it on your own. And the same thing is, I'm going to want you to, if you're given the coordinates of the endpoints of the diameter of a circle. So in other words, you're given the coordinates of a diameter. How would you find the center of the circle? So that's midpoint. And then it also wants you to find out how would you find its radius. Okay, so if I have the endpoints, I have the coordinates of the diameter, how would I find the center of the circle and how would I find the radius, again, in your own words. So the midpoint formula is, as we said before, you're taking your two x values, adding them and dividing by 2. It's basically the average of your x values. and then the y is going to be the average of your y values. So all we're simply doing is taking the two coordinates they give us. So here we have negative 6 comma 5 and 2 comma negative 3. So we're going to take our two x values, negative 6 plus 2 divided by 2. We do 5 plus negative 3 divided by 2. So negative 6 plus 2 is negative 4. Negative 4 divided by 2 is negative 2. Second one, we have 5 plus negative 3 is negative 2. Negative 2 divided by negative 2 is negative 1. So our midpoint is negative 2 comma negative 1. Okay, once again, do these on your own. Hit play when you're ready. Okay, so here's our solutions. 5 plus 4 divided by 2 is 4.5. 2 plus 3 divided by 2 is 2.5. So you have a midpoint of 4.5 comma 2.5. Next one, you get 1 comma 4. And then the last one, you get negative 1/2 comma 2.5. So hopefully you got those. Okay, now what I want you to do is I want you to look at this challenge because we've gone through the concept of a midpoint formula, and now this is an honors problem. If you can do this, then you really understand the concept. Okay, so this is the challenge of the section, is being able to do something like this. Okay, so the coordinate, it's giving you the coordinate of the end of a segment. It's negative 2 comma 3. Then it's giving you the midpoint. So it's not giving you the other endpoint. It's giving you one endpoint and the midpoint. We want to find the other endpoint. So take a minute, think about this, try and do it, and then hit play when you're ready to see if you did it right. Don't just hit play and just see the answer. That is not going to help you. You need to think about this. All right, so just go ahead and hit play when you're ready. Okay, so hopefully you thought through this. All we're doing is using the midpoint formula. So the difference is instead of, we have our x1, but we don't know what our x2 is, so that's our unknown. We do know what our midpoint value is. It's 1. They give it to us. So we're looking at this as x1 plus x2 over 2 equals, and then what we say is we can call this the x and then put a sub m for the midpoint. Well, then all we're doing is we're just plugging in what we know. x1 is negative 2, our x midpoint is 1, and then we're just solving for our unknown, which is x. So I multiply both sides by 2, add 2 to both sides, and we get x equals 4. Okay, second one, same thing. It's just a y value. So you multiply 2 on both sides. So 2 times 1/2 is 1. And then minus 3 on both sides, you get y equals negative 2. So our midpoint is 4, or not our midpoint, our endpoint is 4 comma negative 2. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. You should be able to do problems like that. And I will see you in class. Let me know if you have any questions. Don't forget to take your quiz.